Hello,
We're live.
Amber, Julie, and let's see, what time is it? It is 6:59, so we have about a minute until we officially start.
Right.
But we're still figuring all this out. We have the big KW in the back here.
Mm-hmm. It says we can tag friends.
Let's see.
Okay.
I'll scoot a little forward. People can get it up close and personal. Here, I don't think, because it's in the, and I think it'll come up when
Okay. Gotcha.
people are coming in and stuff, but let's see. Dance.
Usually, what is it that people do when I watch lives? They're like, let's talk a second and then wait for people to get on.
Any fun children's stories today? I'm trying to think if I had any.
My kids were crazy today. As usual.
Every day.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I'm remembering making them lay down for a nap. Let's see. I can't think of anything cute.
I was planning on today being our first school day, even though the kids are going to Arkansas on Saturday. But I was going to kind of dip my toe in and kind of figure out what this new schedule would look like. And as I was praying about it in the morning, the Lord was just like, just enjoy your kids this week.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I guess.
That's good.
And then we had an unexpected visitor, so it worked out that I wasn't,
Yeah.
on top of everything. Okay, well, it is 7 o'clock.
Alrighty.
So let's get going, and
Okay.
whoever comes later, you guys can always watch this again.
Yes. Replay.
So you can start with introducing yourself.
Okay, so I'm Amber Stewart. I am a homeschool mom. I've homeschooled for a little over 5 years, and I'm also a real estate agent. I have 5 kids, 4 girls and a son. Our son was very much prayed for, and of course that doesn't discount our 4 girls. I feel like sometimes it sounds like I don't care about them.
But after 4, you kind of have to pray for a son in order to get one.
That's right.
Yep.
So we have 4 girls and a son.
Hey, Mom.
Hi, Lynn. How are you? I have had my real estate license for 8 years, so a little bit longer than I've been homeschooling, and our decision to start homeschooling, so we thought we would homeschool when Julia was 1, with our oldest. When she was 1, we had all of this plan of what we were going to do, and then God came into the picture and said, no, all of your plans are futile. You're not going to do any of that.
How dare you?
Yeah. So we did public school until we moved to Dickinson, North Dakota, and then we did public school, and then we did private school, which didn't work out. So then we were like, okay, this is kind of what we're left with. And we had 3 daughters at the time when we started homeschooling. And then I had my 4th daughter, and we moved back here after that. And then we kept homeschooling, and they like it, and so we've just chosen to continue with it. So.
And you're a working mom and homeschooling, and Dave works full time too. So really cool. And then the idea, the online event, where'd you come up with that?
Great question. So I just was thinking about, I've been thinking about what I want to do, who I want to work with in real estate, and I just, what kind of people I want to hang around. And I thought, how can I marry real estate and my homeschool life? They're so completely intertwined for me, and yet it seems sort of separate. So I wanted to make it even more intertwined, and then plus, I thought it'd be fun to do it with you, because I don't want to just get on here for an hour and listen to myself talk. So I thought, well, my great friend Julie has an amazing business she's starting, so let's talk about it, see how we can help people come from contribution and hopefully bless some people in the process. So
Amen.
That
is the big part of it.
That's the goal.
And then do you want to show off what we're giving
away?
Yes,
I want to do that. Okay, so I went to Mardel's and I got some fun goodies, and I hope that you'll like it. So I'm going to lift it up here and show you each item. So I've got this turquoise caddy. You can use it for markers and all kinds of good stuff. Excuse me. This is something that, as a homeschool mom myself, I know a lot of teachers love, so I just got a bunch of goodies that I would have loved, and hopefully you will all love it too. So we've got a highlighter set here. Expos. Every homeschool mom loves Expos.
Yes. And you go through them so fast.
So fast, especially when your kids
Oh,
go
I
to
love
them.
those things.
Yeah.
Those magnetic bookmarks. Yes.
Magnetic bookmarks.
My kids think those are the best thing ever.
They are the best thing ever. It says, these ones say faith, hope, love, wear a smile, cherish every day, and be kind and lovely, chase your dreams. They're cute. I've got a fun, crazy, just giveaway toy in here that it expands and it's frisbee kind of thing. Sugar fuel. This is just, it looked really good to me, smells good. It's hazelnut coffee.
I always love hazelnut.
And yeah.
It's like one of my favorites.
And it was, I mean, it's fancy.
Hey, Melody.
Glad you're here, Melody. I just have some different colored markers that you wouldn't normally get in the regular marker thing. And then I have this cool planner that I thought it's kind of what we're going to be going.
So cool.
It's what we're going to be talking about tonight, so I thought it'd be fun. And then it's got lesson plans, communication log. It's got it, you know, you can get as detailed or as not detailed as you want. You can kind of brush over it or whatever. So anyways, it's a planning book for schooling, and you know, teachers can use it, homeschool moms can use it. It's got a grading chart and some notes. So anyways, it's cute and I would like it, so I grabbed it. So if you are out of town and you're going to be watching this, I'll ship it to you if you win. So,
yes. But if you're in town, she'll either do like a drop-in doorbell or say hi or whatever.
We'll get it to you. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm Julie. I also have 5 kids. Mine are all girls, no boys.
You didn't pray hard enough.
Yeah, apparently not. Well, Jose didn't pray hard enough. That was really what happened. I was kind of fine with whatever. We do have some, like, well, what we call, like, our foster kids or what have you, just some extra blessings that we've had in the house, older kiddos, but they're all out of the house now, grown. But my kids are from 12 down to 3 years old. We have 3-year-old twins, so we have 12, 7, 6, and then 3 and 3. We have homeschooled from the beginning when Audrey was like 2.5, and I just was ready to figure it out, and we'll talk more about that later and kind of how crazy I went in the beginning. Hey, Alicia. And let's see. So that's been Audrey's 12, so I guess almost 10 years now that I've been doing that, and it's been a really cool journey. A little bit about me also is I'm a research freak. I really spend way too much time doing all of that. If you watch, what is it, the Enneagram Ladies on YouTube, I'm a number 5, so you know, the 100 hours of YouTube videos and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I want to share it with you guys out there, because I've spent all the time, so you guys can learn from the time that I've spent on it. And then Never Alone Consulting. This came from a few people. I mean, I've always been the kind of the go-to person in my circle of, you know, I'm thinking about homeschooling, or I am homeschooling and I have questions, or I'm thrusted into school at home and I have questions, and I'm all about being able to share my experience to bless others, to make it less daunting, less scary. And then I had one friend who was like, you need to like do this, like commit to doing this. And I was a little hesitant at first just to make it so official, but the Lord has been so good in just kind of guiding me along the way and having great friends that are super supportive. So it's really here for me to be able to share my experiences, my successes, my failures, bring other people in that have had that, and to just get to be a blessing, to make it not so overwhelming and scary.
You've already helped some people.
Yes.
That's the cool thing.
Yes, I have gotten to help a few people. I mean, before I did the business, I've always kind of been, you know, I would send all the resources, and then lately I've had my guinea pigs that have let me really help them, whether they were stepping into doing public school at home and they wanted supplemental things, or how do I figure life out with that, or people that are newly stepping into homeschooling, or current homeschoolers that just are kind of like, it's not working. How do I revamp this? I'm down for all of that, because I feel like I revamp my homeschool like every single year.
I do too.
So let's see. Like Amber said, I mean, she came up with the idea of doing it online, which I thought was fantastic, especially during this like COVID time or what have you, but we really want to create events where we're having full communication. Like, it's not just us coming and sharing our knowledge, but that in the comments and in this community that we're building, that we can just really be sharing what works, what doesn't work, encouragement. I'm going crazy, how do I fix this? And people can just be really lifting each other up, and that's the whole point of never alone consulting. We're never alone. Because the Lord's with us, so we are never alone, but we have a whole community that can be helping us through this. We're just not alone in this.
Yes.
And then at the end of this, we are also going to be, other than the giveaway, we're also going to be doing questions and answers. So if you have any questions specifically that we don't cover in this or that come up during this, you can type them in the comments. I'm kind of keeping track of them as much as I can. And then we'll answer them at the end, or if we have another veteran homeschooler or a school-at-homer that has an answer to it, answer it in the comments. We would love your help with that. So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and get into the topic. The topic I picked this time is schedules, routines, and rhythms. I know for myself and for a lot of moms, as I've been talking to everybody, it's like, how do I manage my time? I mean, whether you're a working mom or a stay-at-home mom or anything in between, figuring out the balance is kind of the most daunting thing that we do. So we wanted to address that and just start to have a conversation about that. So I had some discussion questions that Amber and I are going to answer, and then you guys can also give us your thoughts, or if you've been doing this, any advice or what have you. So the first one is what is your personality when it comes to schedules?
So I really like schedules, but of course, as a homeschool mom, I've had to not be so on top of it. But I was the kind of high school student that I loved. We had agendas in high school, and I wrote in my agenda, I would write in my agenda things that I did yesterday, just so that I would it was almost like a journal for me. I loved it, and sometimes I would try and write pretty in there or be artistic and whatever. And it's like when I really wasn't listening in class, I would fill in my agenda. And so that's the kind of, I love a scheduling book. Now my schedule looks like a bunch of chicken scratch, and I've got notes everywhere, and it's not what it used to be, where I'm like, oh, my schedule, it's who I am.
And that's so prideful,
right?
It was beautiful.
It was, and now it's just it's all over the place, and it's just whatever I can do to get it in the planner so that I can be where I need to be, and it's but I love being scheduled. I'm a planner. We annoy our family because we're asking about holidays. At holidays, what are we doing for next Christmas? And they're like, no, you need to wait till November to ask me what we're doing for Thanksgiving. So, which is Dave and I, we're we can't even stand that, but we do because that's the way we plan in our family. So, so I love having a planner. I usually switch my planner. I'll even switch it throughout the year sometimes, but I really like the ones that have hours.
Yes.
I don't like the day one.
Yeah.
I like the hours.
And we're going to talk about that a little later on, and that's why it's titled Schedules, Routines, and Rhythms, because with the different personalities, depends on what kind of planning you should be doing. I mean, if you're my husband, who I see is watching now,
hey, Jose.
He almost despises all form of planning, and then he's married to me, who does not despise it, but we've come to a happy medium. But there is a type of planning you can do as a homeschool mom or a mom, period, that isn't as scheduled as by the hour, and we'll talk about that later. For me, for my personality, I was telling Amber, I am a creative control freak. So I love schedules. I would do the same, and I would even write things in from yesterday just so I could cross it off and feel,
it makes you feel good.
Accomplished or whatever, and it is a good journal of what you did. But then I would get all of these lists and these plans, and then I would freeze because there was no fluidity in it, and the creative in me likes to dance around from thing to thing, and so it's really kind of like a polarizing personality to have. But
so I know we're going to talk about it later, but are you a Google Calendar, like an online calendar type of a person? Or
I really loved for the longest time to handwrite things. There was just something there, but since I've gotten the iPad and I do a lot of my stuff on there, it just makes sense for me to have. I have everything on my iCalendar, and then I have the general on the iCalendar, and then I write specifics into my because I have the iPad that I can write on. So it's electronic, but it's still handwritten.
In a perfect world, I would have both, but I don't
But
know.
then they
It's
don't
usually
talk to each other.
I know, it's one or the other.
Yeah. That's good. Okay, so what has your journey been on figuring out what works best for your family when it comes to schedules or planning, time management?
So we've gotten into a rhythm. So we have a co-op on Mondays that we go to for my family. And so we have gotten into a rhythm that's been really good for us where we kind of look at the week, plan the week out on Sunday evening. And that has been super helpful. Even like because I have 2 middle schoolers, if I can brief them on what we're doing and help them kind of think about what's happening for the week, it makes life so much better for us.
They take ownership in it.
They do.
They almost
and
feel
they'll
more
remind
responsible.
me. Yeah, and so that's helpful too. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And my third oldest, she's hilarious because I don't know what personality type she is except for that she's just responsible when it comes to things that she's concerned about, like remembering snacks and stuff like that.
Yes,
so she'll be like, Mom, do I need to pack 3 snacks for everyone? I'm like, yes, we do. Like I don't always remember
That's
snacks,
awesome.
but she's the snack girl.
Yeah.
So I think that like each year we just kind of reevaluate like what you were saying.
Yes.
And this year it's the same as last, but like things have changed up a little bit for us this year, especially because a lot more things are online and Zoom oriented and stuff. That has changed. But still, if we can get like a game plan on Sunday night, that is the best way that we've been operating lately.
Yeah, that's really good.
What about you?
For me, it went from like what I said with Audrey, my oldest. We have 5. My oldest, back when she was 2.5, I did school at home. You know, we had all the posters. I had a desk. We had, it was very rigid. We were gonna do it from
planned out,
like 8:30 till 2. I mean, for a 2.5-year-old, 3-year-old, or whatever it was, But that was just in my insecurity and not knowing. I was just trying to do the best that I could.
Right. Because you feel like you don't want to, because you're homeschooling, you don't want to like take anything away from what they would be learning.
I always say that homeschooling or school at home, anything where it's on you, it's just another way to feel like you're messing up your kids.
Right.
And I mean, the Lord's grace is sufficient, thank goodness, and He carries us through that. But so I started out really rigid. I went every year. I would say it has changed. Depending on whether I was pregnant. There was a time that Jose and I were both working, and so it had to change. Currently, where we're at in it is a lot more fluid. I guess we would be technically put as unschoolers, but we're not. I mean, we still have a curriculum that we follow with our oldest, with our 7th grader. She's more interest-led learning, and so she is starting a soap making business, and so a lot of her education, math and science and everything, is going from that. So hers is a little bit more freeform, where I can say, here's what you need to accomplish in a week, and then I'm sitting down with her and helping her figure out how to do that, which is a life skill, and she needs to learn that. With my, one's a 2nd grader, one's a 1st grader, but we do 2nd grade with both of them. I sit down and we do, when we are doing school, we do it from like 9 to 12.
Okay.
And I have a general plan.
Yeah.
I have the idea of sitting down on Sundays and making a plan, but that usually doesn't happen.
Well, our Sunday night isn't like, it's not like, it's general, it's kind of what's coming up.
We're more of a rhythms person, which is again what we're going to be talking about in a little bit, the difference between schedules and rhythms and routines. That's where we went to, even though I would love to be a schedules person, but that's just not where we're at, especially with twin 3-year-olds. That just, you can have a schedule and then they just rip it up and throw it out the window. So, for our sanity and for my kids to enjoy school, because that's why we homeschool. Our motto is we want our kids to develop a love of learning, because I think they will go so far with that we just couldn't do the drill and kill method for my spirit or for my kids' spirit. So that's where our journey has been. And now we're going to talk about failures first, and then we'll go to success. So what was your biggest failure, you think, when it comes to time management?
I think my biggest failure in time management is just having high expectations. You know, I would really love for my kids to be more like adults.
Yeah.
And do the things that
if they just could.
Right. And I just think I needed to relax a little bit on expectations, but not completely. Like, they need to have discipline and all of that kind of thing. So just finding that happy medium, I think, was difficult. It's still something we're working on. But yeah, I mean, just expectations of what they can accomplish. And really, even if you have expectations, guiding them along through that and helping them understand it. It's kind of one of those things where I'd be like, here's my expectation, drop. But then I realize I need to go back and with different personalities especially, either explain or walk them through that, even if they won't ask for that.
Right.
But they need that.
Right. Why you have that expectation.
Right.
They really will take ownership a lot of the times when they understand the expectation behind there. But I also heard this quote lately that it's like, give yourself the grace that you extend to others. Because we're so quick to I'll extend grace to you because I love you, you're my friend, but I won't extend that same grace to myself or sometimes even to my own kiddos.
Right, because they reflect us, right?
Right,
yeah.
Right. So I gotta fix you.
We want you to look perfect when we go out in public.
Yes, yes. My biggest failure would have been to also, I think, have large expectations on myself and wanting us to get everything done every week to the point where I made my kids and myself hate homeschooling and hate school and dread school.
Yeah.
And when I realized that, I mean, it was just always a fight. Like every day, every moment was a fight. And I was like, this is not what I pictured.
Right.
You know, us doing read alouds and stuff like that. And I was telling Amber, I had like timers set for every 20 minutes, like, okay, now it's time to go to science, now it's time to go to history, now it's time to, and it just caused way too much anxiety because Mama sets the pace, right? She sets the whole, atmosphere, environment, and stuff like that, so I had to learn.
And you have to do that at the kid level, though. That's the complicated part, is we have to be the one in charge, and yet we have to do it at a kid's pace, so, yes.
Which is never at our pace.
Right.
So that was my biggest, so success. What would you say your biggest
success? I think has been pretty recent, and it's going to sound a little odd, but I know that your family started doing this too, but our biggest success has just been to take a Sabbath and to just take a moment and say we're not schooling, and we don't even let our kids do homework on Sabbath.
Amen.
We're like, sorry, you have to
What a blessing for them to have that memory.
Yeah.
That's huge.
So we don't allow them to do school. We don't work as much as possible. I've started letting my clients know, hey, I take one day. Like, that's hard as a real estate agent. We want to be available all the time, and you can lose clients if you don't get back with them like that. They can move on. You know, there's 37,000 real estate agents.
If you're not the answer to me, I'll go to the other guy.
Right, like, if you don't get back with me in 30 minutes, I mean, I want to see this house now. So, but you know what? We put our trust in the Lord, not in our own abilities, and that's something that we're working on. And it's much more, of something that we want them to capture is that we take time just to rest in the Lord, worship, and to just be people and not have to just be always scurrying around. So we do our Sabbath Saturday night to Sunday night. I know y'all do
Friday night to Saturday night.
Yes. Yeah. So it can be whatever, and so that way that works well for us because I still do an open house usually on Saturdays, and then I'm done around the time that the sun is setting, and then we have family dinner, and then we do church, and then Sunday night, I mean, we're back at it, we're scheduling, we're packing lunches.
But everybody's more willing because they had that, it's like a holiday that you have every week because you're looking forward to like, okay, today is crummy, but I got Sabbath coming, and so I know there's that day that we're just going to stop. Yeah. You know.
And it used to be, like, our first Sabbath, we were like, what do we do? we don't do laundry,
What about the dishes?
Yeah, like, the dishes are probably, what do we do?
The kids don't have to clean up? What?
Right, and it was like, but now it's like, wait, I mean, Sabbath just started 2 minutes ago, it's already over, so it's just like, we're used to it now, and it's just part of our routine, and we're like, oh man, Sabbath's already over. So it's, it's something that's been a blessing to our family, and I think that that's just not putting so much pressure on ourselves has been our biggest success, and just allowing that to be.
And I think that comes with time. and experience and realizing that you're not messing up your kids.
Right. And you're not even ultimately in control.
Right. Amen. Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, Sabbath, obviously, but just learning that to take time and to just slow the pace down and not to be frantic. And with doing that, because I was so worried for so long, like, am I hitting all the subjects? Are they learning are they keeping up with other kids, you know, in their grade level or whatever, that I was just so frantic that then they weren't actually absorbing the information. So as we have slowed down the pace and we've just taken time to be together and to go play on the days that we want to go play, they then absorb so much more on the days that and they're asking, like, can we do school? And I'm like, sure, you know, because they're asking for it. And if they want it, then they just take it in so much faster. So I think just learning, and this is not my personality for anybody. I'm sorry, I have my phone because I'm looking for, she's a realtor too, so she can identify with you.
Yes, you can give your tips too.
Yes. And in the comments, say whether you are a new homeschooler, a veteran homeschooler, a thrusted into school at home. Let us know and let everybody else know, because we really want to know what kind of people we got here. You know about us and how many kids you have. Just give us a little bit so we can get to know you guys as well. But yeah, that's my biggest success, is just learning and being okay with the slower pace, because I knew about the slower pace for a long time, but I wasn't okay with the idea of it, and I didn't think it would work, and it's working. It's amazing. So that has been
life is more caught than taught, you know, a lot of times. So if all we're doing is just sitting across the table from our kids and teaching them, then they're not going to learn as much as if we're showing them, right?
I liked what you said about that with the Sabbath, that you had to show them, like, resting. You had to show them what the priority was, and that the Lord will almost multiply the time that we have, because we're sacrificing this day. I mean, he blessed that day and made it holy, and so he does beautiful things. Let's see. So attention and focus is hard, and there is a lot of hand-holding. We have one 7-year-old with SPD. I don't know what SPD is. Do I? But attention and focus is hard. Attention and focus, no matter what it is really, really hard.
If I had $1 for every time I said focus. Yeah.
Or having to repeat myself, it drives me absolutely bonkers. That is where I'll end up yelling, because I'm not the calmest mom in the world. Okay, so now we're going to step into routines, schedules, and rhythms, what they are. And hey, Emily.
Thank you, Emily.
Sensory process. Oh, yes. Okay. Sensory processing disorder. Yes, I've heard of that. I just didn't know the acronym for it. So, yes, I can imagine that does shift it a little bit. But routine, schedules, and rhythms. I'm sorry. I'm looking down at our things that we want to cover.
Our schedule for the schedule.
Our schedule for scheduling.
Yes.
And okay, so I look at it this way. Routines, we all have routines. Everybody has routines. You have a time that you wake up, whether it's scheduled or not, and then something that you do after you wake up, and then something after that, and something after that, all the way until you go to bed. So we all have routines. Whether it's a planned routine or not, you kind of have that, okay? And then there's the schedulers and the rhythm people, okay? So those are the two ends that I would say you have. So you have Amber and what I want to be, which is a scheduler, which will take every hour of the day or every 15-minute segment of the day and figure out what do I already have in here, and then plan all the moments in between.
But as a homeschool mom, even if you're a scheduler, you have to have like that fluidity. Like if you're going to drive yourself bonkers. Yeah, definitely true.
And then you have the other side of the scale, which is rhythms. Well, probably the other side of the scale would just be not doing any of it. But on the actual scheduling scale, you would have rhythm people, right? The more fluid, like, I know we want to accomplish these things today, and here's the order that I think we're going to do them in amongst our routine. So if we know we're going to get up, and then there's going to be a snack time and a nap time, and and things like that, then that person will just kind of say, well, I think we're going to throw these things into these different areas. Okay, so that's the difference, and you can kind of look at your personality and see what of those causes you anxiety, maybe push away from that, and what of those speaks to your heart, and then you can embrace that. So the importance of budgeting time. So just like with our money, if we have an abundance of money or we have tight money, it is super important to budget it, even if you have an abundance of it, because you could be irresponsible.
Yeah.
Right?
Or somebody could be stealing from you and you don't know it.
Exactly. And so with time, the thing is we all get the same amount of time. Now, it doesn't always feel that way because you have people that have a solid work schedule or, working at night or just different things. You have kids in extracurriculars that can kind of steal time away from you, things like that. But we all have the same amount of time, and if we're not intentional with saying, I want to make sure that it is used wisely, then the week will go away from us and we'll be like, why didn't I get anything done that I wanted to get done? How did that happen? Same with our money.
Right.
Like we'll get to the end of the month and go, where did all my money go? As opposed to looking at, okay, this is where I spent my money. This is where I spent my time. So
there has to be intentionality.
Yeah, with it. And time is the one thing we cannot make more of, so we really have to be wise with it. Not anxious about it, but really wise with it. One of the quotes that I had listened or I had heard just recently from somebody was, make sure your calendar reflects your values. I thought that was really beautiful because, well, certain parts of our calendar we can't change, like our kids have to go to school, especially if they're Zoom schooling or anything like that. That's kind of already set. You have to go to work, that's already set, right? But the times other than that, those times should reflect your values.
Yeah.
So it's really good to go back and almost do like a spending report on your time.
Yeah.
Look at last week, right? If you're a color coordinator, put, time that you spent with the Lord, time you spent with the family, time you spent on electronics, with work and responsibilities. Put them in different colors and see if it is budgeting out evenly.
Right.
Obviously, work and school are going to take a big stock because that is the adult or child responsibility. But if you can take those times that aren't dedicated to those have-tos and you make them match your values, you're going to feel less frantic, less wasteful at the end of the week, end of the month, right? So it's really important to kind of do that spending report with your time and see if it's reflecting, and then you can evaluate and reshape for the next thing. And then the quote that you said when we were talking about this, I wrote that down too. If it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist. And that is so true. I mean, even for my non-planning husband, it is so important for me to even write things down for him, or it's not there.
Right.
And it's not going to get done. Right?
Yeah. I mean, there are things, like, we live in such a, like, with homeschooling and working and all that, we live in such a chaotic it can become chaotic so quickly that even the things that are super important to us couldn't be forgotten easily if we don't write it down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And especially when you're a mom of kids, first of all, and then if you're managing their school, I mean, that's just a whole nother thing. And then if you're working or any of these other things, you have little ones. I feel like having little ones is almost like having a full-time job that just, they're beautiful and wonderful and a blessing, but they zap all your brain power. Right. And so all of those things, it's really important to take a moment and write these things down. So what works for whom on this? Like I said, I am a control freak by nature. The Lord is working on me continuously, but I'm also creative. I'm a right-brained, fluid, chaotic kind of person when it comes to those things. So I always liked the idea of a set schedule and everything planned to a T, but then it just suffocated me, and it caused so much anxiety in me that it didn't work. So you really have to try something, and like when you're first starting, try something, and then in a week reevaluate it.
Right.
Reevaluate it with your spouse, reevaluate it with a friend, somebody with outside perspective that isn't dealing with it day to day, because many times my husband has looked at that and gone, well, why are you doing it that way?
Right.
Why don't you just change the, and I'm like, how did I not see that?
Right.
Like, that is amazing. But understand that you have to hold your plans like this, right? You make the plans. The Lord tells us to make the plans, but He is going to guide the way. So He can change it at any time. Our kids can change it at any time. Getting sick or anything like that can change it at any time. So we just have to be flexible and know that it's going to change.
Yeah.
Right? So I would say, if you're brand new at this, make a plan and evaluate every week, and then eventually, like a month in, you'll be like, okay, I have a general idea and I don't have to evaluate.
Well, I think
every
a
week.
system forms, right? And that's what we want.
Yes.
We want a systematic approach, not so that we can be robots, but so that it's something that kind of starts to flow for our family, like what we're talking about, where it's like not rigid, but also there's something that just kind of is a natural ebb and flow.
Amen.
And I think that it really helped having like my husband working from home, because he sees why we do a lot of the things that we do and the systems that we have that were just kind of, you know, foreign to him before. But now he's kind of thrown into the mix of it, which is huge, because he can he can help with questions or things like that the kids are coming to us to ask. And but it's also having to teach our kids, like, we're not always available again, like, because, you know, there are times when you have to wait for our attention. So it's a new learning process for them, but also it helps him be a part of our system more, as opposed to like sort of separate, because he's home all the time and he's working from home, and we know we'll have him at least till October. But it's been a huge blessing for us, and we will try different systems, and they'll work for a long time, and then we have to revamp. Like, systems don't just work forever, but they're really valuable and they work. When, you know, and then you just, what happened? Sometimes we'll be like, what happened to that system? Why are the kids not doing chores anymore?
Yeah.
I don't really know.
When did that happen?
When did that float away? Let's revisit chores, you know?
When did I start doing all of the laundry?
Right. This is weird. But anyway, so we revisit that kind of stuff quite often. I was recently listening to Christine Kane, and one of the quotes that she shared that was a cute quote that I thought I would share with y'all is, from the, you know, it comes kind of from the Beatitudes, but, you know, it's her own paraphrase. She says, "Blessed is the one who is flexible, for they shall not snap." So
I like that.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of snapping when we're not flexible.
I was going to say, I feel like I've done a lot of snapping, like verbally snapping and mentally.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like, it's, you know, sometimes you just walk away, but it's like not healthy because you don't come back.
Yeah.
But I think that's something that we're trying to teach our kids too, is like, we need to be flexible with each other.
Yes.
I realize she touched your pencil. You know, would you treat somebody that's not in our family that way?
Amen.
So, and, you know, I know it's your sister.
Well, that's another thing with flexibility and with having multiple kids. You have to also look at what your kid's personality is and what works for them, because certain kids, like we have a friend who her oldest daughter is all about a rigid schedule, and so she works off of that, right?
So she needs her own planner.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
And she sits down with mom and she says, okay, what do I have to get done? And then she sets it up, and she's like 15, 16 or something like that. So she's at the age to do that. And then you have more free flow kids. So, you know, just being yourself flexible to that and realizing the exact same thing is not going to work for every child.
Right. So my oldest daughter, she's like that. Like, she's like, don't touch what I'm doing. I got it. And then my second one, like, she'll look at her what she has to do for the week, and she'll just like start hyperventilating. And you're like, no, it's gonna be okay. Like, we're gonna it's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, you definitely need to know what works for each kid, and
that's a learning process too.
And that's part of the reason why we homeschool, is for that relationship.
Yes.
So that
and
for
that very specific type of way of doing things for the kids, so that they can realize they're not wrong in their way of being and thinking the way they were designed. You know, they can make it work in the environment that they're in.
Right.
It's not catering it specifically to them all the time and making it easy or whatever, but it's helping them understand how to make that work in the world around them, which is just so beautiful, because Audrey, my oldest, my 7th grader, she likes to know everything that she needs to get done, and then she's going to plan it out the way she wants, which is not usually the way that I want it planned, she might knock out all of math on Monday, right?
Ah.
And then, or she'll save that because it's the easiest one, and she'll do all of this, you know, and that like does not compute in my brain.
Right.
But it works for her.
Yeah.
And because I keep thinking like you have to do math every day in order to kind of keep your brain feeding on it.
Mm-hmm.
Not for her. Not for her. And so I've just had to learn to be okay with that. So being flexible and learning your kids different ways. And when you have younger kids, it's beautiful because they just kind of absorb into what you do because they're in that stage where they just want to do what mommy or daddy does, right? But as they get older, and as they start to get older, you'll just start seeing, I mean, even my 7 and 6-year-old, I can start seeing their personality, but they're still pretty fluid to what mama wants, you know, or what have you. So that's a really good thing because you're going to be looking at learning styles and you're going to be looking at planning styles as well. Hey, Jessica. Okay, so how to do all of this, right? Now we've talked your ear off on the logistics of it or the idea of scheduling, how to implement it.
Right.
One of the things I am working on is some sheets to help you guys, some printables that I'm going to put up and you guys can download for free to help you put all of this into process if this is if it's how your brain works, okay? You might be it's okay, Jessica, we're glad you're here. You might be I'm just going to have it all in my head, although I would really encourage you to write it down in some form. Even if it's in chaos on a whiteboard, write it down because there's intentionality with that and budgeting with that. So what I do, especially at the beginning of a school year, because every year is different, I kind of brain dump. Like I have a page that I just say, okay, what subjects are the kids doing together? Which ones are they doing separate? Where are our have-tos in our schedule, right? Like if they have a certain class they have to be at on a certain day at a certain time with homeschool, you sometimes have outside, you guys go to CC, so you have it on Mondays, right? So we put in the have-tos and then we see the open spaces.
Right.
And then we take the subjects that are a daily subject and I allot those in and then I see how much time we have for the other subjects.
Right. A friend of mine said that she does like the important stuff first, and that way if they don't get to like art, no big deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's hard too because like science, history, art, languages, like other languages, those always for us end up getting pushed to the side, to the side, to the side, to the side, to the point where the kids are like, "Can we please do science?" And then I'm like, "Papa, come here. Why don't you do science with the kids on, you know, whatever." And it's good because they crave it and they ask for it. So there's the brain dump and the putting in the have-tos and then figuring out where you have space to move things around. I'll give you an example this year. So usually last year what we did was from about 9:30 to 12:30 was school. I'm best in the morning. My brain, my nerves, all of that is best in the morning. And I liked the idea of getting everything done before lunch was ready and stuff like that. But this year, with having the twins and with them potentially nixing their first of the day nap, it's going to make more sense. I'm going to be able to have more focused time with the bigger kids in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So we're going to be switching everything up. And I'm going to involve the twins in some things, but you know, you can only involve them in so much. And we're going to try it. We're going to try it for a couple weeks. Then I'll evaluate it and see what was successful and what wasn't. But we go more with the rhythms, which I will have a printable that will show you rhythms, a printable that will show you schedules individually. So it could be Mama's schedule, Audrey's schedule. Then I'll have a family schedule. So you'll have every person on that day, and we'll have that for your routines as well. So you can kind of do what your overall routine usually looks like so that you can kind of see all of these visually so that your time budget makes more sense.
Right.
You know, and
so you space it out in your brain so that it doesn't feel so overwhelming and you feel
because if you have it all in here, then you just think, I don't have enough time.
Right.
There's just all these things and I don't have enough time. But if you start to put them in there in the chunks, you go, oh wait, there's a little bit of time here. Or maybe that's not that important because it's going to take up time that I could just be spending playing with my kids.
Right.
Or what have you. And you can really start to see and evaluate what's important and what isn't. So we're going to be having all of that up, which I'll tell you at the end how you can get to those printables. I'm still in the process of creating them. I sketched them out today, and within the next couple days they'll be up for you guys to get and to use, and I'll do like a little video showing how I use them so that you guys can implement that. But in the meantime, you can just start brain dumping the have tos and the want tos, and then kind of starting to map those things out. But really just give yourself grace. I have on here a few important things to remember. The Lord asks us to make a plan, but He wants to be the one that guides it. So again, like I said before, we have to make that plan. We take the time and we go to in prayer and we say, okay, Lord, you gave me these kids, you put me in this situation, how do you want me to handle it? Okay, I'm gonna make that plan, and I'm gonna say, okay, this is how we're going. I'm not going like this, right? With gritted teeth and stuff like that. I'm gonna go with it, and He's going to sometimes change it and drive me a little crazy, but He is ultimately in control, and He knows where my kids are supposed to be going. He knows what our days are supposed to look like. And I have to do that when I am being good at the way that I do things. Every morning, I start the morning with, okay, Lord, this is the plan that I have. Is this what you're wanting for today? Do you want us to do school today? Do you want us to do it at a different time? Like, I'm open, ready to listen to what you want. And sometimes He changes it. But when I go to Him first, there's just so much more peace that exists.
When I sit down to do my schedule on Sunday nights, I do the same thing. Like, guide and direct, and like we've been saying, there's fluidity in that, but I do the same thing, and then I try and do that in the mornings too, but my quiet times are set, so I don't always get as much quiet time as I would like, but I do try and ask the Lord, is there anything that I don't have on my schedule that I need to add or take away? And there are times that I'm like, you know what, I was stressing about something I didn't need to be stressing about. That's silly. I can just take it out. It's not even a big deal. Why am I stressing about it? So it puts everything into perspective.
And I know that this is a little different for folks that are doing Zoom schooling or anything like that. I mean, you can't, you can skip like a day or two, but for the most part, you're stuck in that schedule. But like I said before, what you're spending the rest of your time on, and your kids are spending the rest of the time that isn't scheduled in that 8:30 to 2:30 time frame or what have you, that's going to kind of set the tone for that time that has to be set there, right?
Well, we do school every day, and so that's just like on our plan. And because we're a part of a curriculum program, like we have a little bit more set, almost like school, and we kind of go by like a KDISD. So, but in the midst of that Zoom, like if Zoom's not working, if your computer's not working, I think the point of it is like in all of these things, like just have some peace in it, because if we're not in control, right? So like,
and the Lord is not surprised,
right? And so I think that's like the biggest takeaway. I think just the flexibility of, okay, my computer just stopped working for no reason, or Zoom decided not to work all day. I know that was a big thing in my business. Like Zoom just wasn't working for like a day and a half, and everybody's like, I have all of these Zoom meetings that I'm supposed to be attending. Just go with the flow. Eat a snack. Sing a song, go back to like the basics, and kids really learn more by playing and imaginary time than they really do when you're sitting down looking at a computer. So there's value in textbook learning, there's value in learning from teachers. I'm not trying to take that away at all, but there's also value in talking and in and learning how to have a conversation.
They learn how you, like we've said before, they're already learning with how you deal with your time being messed up, or with your plans being messed up. I mean, that's a huge lesson that they're learning, and so to think about, I mean, it's a lot of pressure sometimes too, but to think about that they're looking at how, like I see it in Audrey, in my oldest, sometimes she's better now, but there was a time where she would get really frantic when anything would change, and she would be constantly asking, like, what time, and I realized that was a complete reflection of the chaos that I had kind of instilled in her from what she had learned from me. So, I mean, there's almost a greater lesson in that, and being, you know, when the Zoom messes it up and you're mad and saying words and stuff like that, is that what you want your kids to be doing later on, you know? So there's so much beauty in that. Okay, this is a big one. Comparison and looking at what works for Amber or what works for me is not going to work exactly for you. She has 5 kids, I have 5 kids. You would think we could kind of overlap things, but our lives are so completely different that if I tried to do how she does things, I would go crazy. If she tried to do how I do things, she would go crazy. So we can kind of take tidbits of what you do, beauty in what you do, and try to implement it, but again, loosely, and understanding that we are, because God made us all so unique, and so our schedules and our plans have to be unique. There is no one perfect answer that is going to work for everybody across the board.
You just take wisdom nuggets. It's just like you as a person, like you as a person are not going to be exactly like anybody else, and so your systems and your homeschool life is going to be your own, and it's going to be something that works for you and your family, and that's the beauty of it. If it was just robotic, then it would lose a lot of the beauty of your personal homeschool
Well, and nobody
journey.
would be freaking out because there would be a, hey, do this, and everybody could do it, and it'd be done. There would be no reason for this. But that's one thing. It's not going to work right away, and it's not always going to work. You touched on this earlier, but again, like I said, what you implement, as brilliant as you think it's going to be, because I've done that many times. I'm like, I came up with the perfect system. This is going to be fantastic. I'm so excited. Jose can attest to that. And then, like, week 1 usually goes well because we're all excited, and then it just goes. And I was like, but I spent like 2 weeks figuring this out. How could it go wrong? You know, holding on to it loosely, evaluating, and bringing outside perspective in to help you evaluate. And understanding that even if you get into a rhythm that works this year, it's probably not going to work next year.
You have to reevaluate every year, if not multiple times throughout the year.
Because your kids' personalities change, your situations change, you have more kids, you have less kids because somebody moves out, whatever. It's constantly changing. So just know, like, fluidity used to just cause me so much anxiety. But it really is. It's a godsend, and it's fluidity in the Lord, just trusting that He's got this, and I cannot mess it up, you know.
And you don't have to chunk your whole system,
no,
but you can revamp parts of it, you know, or you might have to chunk the whole system. But you know, you can just kind of go like what you're saying, like you can just kind of see what's working and what's not, and flesh it out as you go.
And you can look at other people's things and take those little nuggets that work and try them and all that kind of stuff. Because I mean, we tried to do morning baskets, and I love the concept of morning baskets. And I would see people doing like poetry tea time and all this kind of stuff, and I'm like, oh man,
that was like what that was the kind of homeschool mom I was going to be until it actually was a homeschool.
And then you were like, oh no, I can't
like,
be
wait
that
a
person.
minute, I can't. Like I want to be.
Maybe one of these days, when my youngest like 5, and then we can all
maybe I'll come over and do it as, you know, like to bless my kids or something. I don't know.
But by then you would have gotten 5 kids out of the house, and it's like, you're good.
Time's done. That's right.
I've done this enough.
So I just want to remind everybody too, this is just something that's kind of off the top of my head, but something that the Lord revealed to me a few years back when I was really stressing about everything that was going on was He said, you know, what you need to realize is with your job and with your kids and with your husband and all of these things that you're doing, all of these things are blessings. You're really just managing blessings.
Amen.
This isn't something to be looked at with such hate or, you know, like something that you're too overwhelmed to control, because it's a blessing. And so how do we manage those blessings? It's not really
such a perspective shift.
It's not really in and of ourselves, you know, but it's like, okay, all of these things, like I take delight in all of them. And so how can we put them into perspective and get them on the calendar so that, like you were saying, like it reflects our values. Our calendar reflects our values, and you know, it's at the end of the day, we feel joyful and blessed. Which I mean, I can't remember that day, but it's like I'm saying that in faith.
Or when people tell you that, oh, it's just a season, just enjoy it because it's gonna be gone, and I'm like, really? Because it doesn't feel like it's gonna be gone soon. Like I feel like I've been living Groundhog's Day over and over again. I mean, I feel in a better place now because we have older kids, and so I can, you know, it's a little bit. I still have the 3-year-olds or what have you, but understand that there's going to be times where it's chaos.
Right.
Like it's going to feel chaotic.
Right.
And all of us go through that multiple times a year. And if you have little ones and multiple little ones, that is totally normal. And nobody's expecting anything different from you. And if they are, they're silly. Like you just don't even need to listen to them. I think we are just really our own worst critics.
Right.
Because when they're that little, you just need to spend time with them.
And I would like to see, too, even homeschool moms banding together more.
Yes.
But that's another topic for another day.
Yes.
And how can we help each other, you know? Because that is the hardest part of my day is my 4-year-old and my 2-year-old. And just keeping them out of the expos and off of, like, the ceiling fan and all of those kinds of things that they like to just go crazy while we're trying to do
One of these days, we're going to have all grade school and up, and they're going to sit real quietly around the table, and we're gonna sit there and right? That's gonna happen. That's what I keep thinking.
But the joy will already be gone. That's like the sad thing. Like she'll already be out of the house. So it does fly by.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
It really does. So that I think. Let's see. That is everything that we wanted to talk about there. And we're on time. Look at that.
Woo-hoo.
We're on schedule and everything. We made a time schedule, and we're following it because the Lord is good. So now. We're in the concluding part, which is basically we're going to do Q&A. If you guys have any questions that we haven't answered or any clarification things, you can start typing those in now, and we can be answering those. And then we're going to talk about some other topics that we want to have another Let's Chat. And so I have a couple ideas of what I think people might want to hear about or talk about. So I'm going to throw those out there in a moment and get y'all's thoughts on what you find the most important right now. And then we'll have some action steps, and then at the end we're going to do the giveaway for those that are here. So if you have any questions, I don't see, other than Jessica, you said that my thing is that printing different things, like I would assume you're talking about the schedules and stuff like that, is really hard because you don't have a printer. I'm actually going to be looking at how to make, I'm learning how to make the printables into like a document that you can just type into, like a form, you know, so I'm going to be working on that. And another thing is you can usually print at, well, I was going to say libraries, but they're not even open.
Right.
At
Office Max.
Yeah, there you go. Office Max and stuff like that. And it's less than $1 per page.
And a lot of them even have like homeschool discounts.
And that's also part of, that is good. That's part of being in this group that we're creating is most homeschool mamas do have printers, and I am more than willing to print a couple pages off for you. So if we can get into this group that we're doing, and we can print them for you. I mean, I'm not going to print like 30 pages for you, but I'll definitely print like 5-10 pages for you. But eventually that's a good thing to invest in, like ask for it for Christmas or something, because I feel like printers is one of the have-to tools for homeschool.
Printers and laminators, they just make life kind of fun when you're a homeschool. Like, you kind of feel more legit.
It's like getting a vacuum cleaner as a mom and being super excited about it. That's what, and I'm actually have my eye on a new printer right now. Okay, you asked, how do we know all the things they need to learn for their specific grade? That is a really good question.
It is.
Okay, so there's a few ways that you can do this. You're welcome, Jessica. There are books out there that talk about what they need to learn in specific grades, right? You can look at KDISD or Spring, wherever you're zoned, you can look at their scope and sequence, and you can see what their doing for that grade.
Mm-hmm.
That one is really, when I've looked at any of the ISDs, their scope and sequences are really complicated. So the best way that I have found is I will go onto different homeschool curriculum websites that have all-inclusive curriculum, so something like Sunlight Curriculum,
right,
or Memorial Press, Abeka, some of these different ones, and I'll go to theirs. Or Time for Learning. Time for Learning is a really good one because that's an easy one, and it's an online one. You go to Time for Learning, you go to the grade, and they have a scope and sequence for every subject for that grade. And so you can just print that out and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. But I'll also encourage you that what curriculum creators include in their curriculum are not all have-tos. With the younger grade school ages, the have-tos are math and language arts, right? Reading, writing, arithmetic. Those are the have-tos. Those are the things that you should put your effort in, and if everything else doesn't make it in those early grade school years, you agree, it is totally okay.
Right.
You can introduce those topics and stuff like that. But that is what I did in the beginning, was to look at those kind of.
So another like I agree, that was my first thought process, was curriculum,
right,
kind of guide that, and then like just some not really very, I mean it's, anyways, they're just apps and websites. But another way to kind of just see is that, like, as a homeschool mom, I've downloaded this app, Epic, and it has, like, you just go in there and you can put your kids' grade in there.
Oh, that's cool.
And yeah, and like
How have you not told me about this?
How do you not know about it?
Horrible friend.
Okay, you gotta download this app, Epic, okay?
Apparently.
And you can even go to their website, and they have like school, like they'll have like school time, because they do call you a teacher, and you are a teacher. If you're a homeschool teacher, you are a teacher, and you just put it in there, and they'll ask you for like your classroom, and I think I put like Stewart Academy or something like that, what your school name is. But anyways, they will specifically, like, so they have like read alouds, and then they also have so that you can click on the, like, my kids will go and click on the different letters, and sometimes when I'm fed up with Kai and Evie, I'll let them go and get on the computer and just do Epic. Or there's also Starfall.
Starfall is a good one. It's free and really easy.
Yeah. Epic is free if you're a teacher.
Yes.
And you're a teacher.
Yeah. You can get a teacher's badge or whatever.
Yeah.
And you can use your teacher badge at any of the places that do teachers discounts, like any craft stores, office supply stores, stuff like that. That's a really good one. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, Epic. It's in the kids' games, and you can all post on there what the website is too.
That'd be perfect. Melody asked, you mentioned some topics are daily when scheduling. Which subjects should be daily? How often for others? Go ahead.
Well, I just think it goes back to what you said about it needs to reflect what's most important to us. Of course, you know, for the younger kids, it's going to be math and language arts. But other than that, I do not do that as well as I should. So something that's super important to me is for my kids to do Bible time and stuff like that. And so I have it on there, but it's kind of something that they do more, like that's something that they are more responsible for, but I would like to make it, so last year we did like a Bible study curriculum so that it would be part of their school. However, this year we're not doing that, so we're going to have to reevaluate this year and see what we can do, but it has to be, so we start our morning with quiet time and then breakfast, and I like to try and multitask at breakfast. Sometimes we do some of our learning songs at breakfast.
Yeah, we will read poetry, Where the Sidewalk Ends, the fun poetry, and nice. Sometimes I'll do read alouds during that time. But for us, Melody, like I said, I do reading, writing, arithmetic. That's the have-tos, and I'm going to say have-tos.
Right.
As in, that's what I'm shooting for every day. It really depends on people's attitudes and just the craziness of the day. For us, because we're a little bit more free flow with things, science and history are once a week. Sometimes more if we really enjoyed what we were going into. For history, we use Story of the World. So it's a storybook kind of reading, and then
they use that a lot in CC too.
I figured it's a pretty popular one.
It is,
and it's good for multiple ages. So our history and our science And even our language, like we're going to be doing Spanish and Latin this year because the kids want to, not for any other reason other than that. And art, these are all subjects that we can usually do across the grades. Like we just ask different questions for different kiddos and stuff like that.
Yeah. And, I mean, that's the same with our CC program. Like we do the timeline, which is history for all of them, and they just learn.
And they absorb different
right, because we just do it year after year. I like Melody's question. She says, serious question. How can you read aloud during breakfast? Aren't you eating? I mean, I'm done with breakfast in 5 minutes.
I was going to say,
30 minutes.
I eat before the kids because I get grumpy.
Make everybody else's breakfast first, and I still am done before they.
Yeah, that happens too.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes if I'm up early enough, I'll eat before the kids get up because it's just more peaceful for me. And sometimes I make the twins food. The other kids make their own food, and they take forever doing it. Now during school, I usually will make more of their food, and then they take longer. And what I'm eating is usually like a banana or something small because I'm not a big breakfast person. And then we'll read or what have you.
Yeah, so another thing that we do is I printed this out to show you. You can't hardly see it, so I'm just going to stand up. So I have this as a laminated printed out sheet. So see, I can change it. Those are just expo markers. And so I'm sure Julie will be making something like this soon for us. But what it is I just put like, I have to redo this for this year. This was last year's menu, but I literally do have a menu that I write up kind of for like the school year. So on our community days, I know that the kids are going to have cereal. So, like on Sunday night, I'll say, you guys get up and you have your cereal. So they get up and they do their morning routine, and then they're supposed to start cereal. Like, I don't need to come in there. The big kids can pour milk for the little kids. And so I come in and I make my breakfast, and our whole goal is to get out the door on those mornings, which is what I'm sure normal public school. But so we do cereal on those days, which I'm not a big cereal fan regularly, and then we have a packed lunch. So that just kind of takes some of the looking in the fridge, and also like what we do for like when I'm making the list for food, then I just look at for groceries, I just look at this and it keeps me going. And
the kids can, as they get older, they can be involved and like know what's coming up, and it's really fun.
Yeah.
For your age group, Melody, because I know you got a lot of little ones.
Right.
As much as you can, just take your time with breakfast. Take your time, deal with kids throwing food and stuff like that.
Right.
Don't try to do read alouds during that time.
Right.
And then if you can come up with like Play-Doh for the little ones after, you clean up from breakfast, Play-Doh for the little ones or anything that will kind of keep them entertained, and then bring out coloring sheets for the other kiddos and do a read aloud while they're coloring. Like I don't make my kids just sit there and watch me read.
Right.
They're playing with Play-Doh, they're building with Legos, they're drawing what I'm reading, they're drawing their version of it. They can be doing anything that's keeping their hands busy and listen to me. And sometimes I get tired of all the talking that goes into reading, and so we'll listen to Audible, and then I'll draw with them.
Yeah.
Or what have you.
And that's hitting all of the sensory stuff, right? Like that's using right brain and left brain, so that's pretty cool. And they say that is how kids remember, is using both right brain and left brain. That's why they do motions to songs and that kind of stuff. So Emily asked, I've been looking at Story of the World for my first grader. Emily, I would really look and see, like they take it off all the time, but one really great way, and I know that I'm biased, but is the CC Timeline song. It's just a 13-minute song of everything that's happened in the world from like the beginning, and it's really good because once you start to get into it, you're like, oh, this is what was happening in China when Jesus was around. Like, it's really interesting. So like I know that you're really musically oriented, and so I would maybe have them all you have to do is have it on, and pretty soon after a time you'll be humming it and singing along, and turn it on in your car. Once you're a homeschool parent, no space is ever not a learning space again.
Amen.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just
making lunch is a learning time.
Right. Yeah. Everything is learning, everything is growing. And
where do they find that song?
So they take it off of YouTube a lot because it's copyrighted.
What would we search?
So you would just search CC timeline song or classical conversations timeline
Your
song.
girls were singing that when they were over at our house on the weekends.
And so what we do for CC is they learn seven cards at a time, which is each one that they sing, and so they get it in their brains that way. But I mean, like Evie already knows it, and she's 4, and she has the gist of it. She doesn't sing it correctly, kind of like the ABCs, but you know, we're not concerned about it.
But
so
I would say A Story of the World is great for a first grader because
they have CDs you can listen to, right?
Yeah, they have CDs that you can listen to the audible of it, like the audio of it, or you can read it. So Eliza is first grade, and I've done it with Livy and even with Audrey when they were those ages. And I just read to them. I have the coloring pages that they have for each chapter. I have those printed out, and so they can be coloring while we're doing it. And then they have it's such a good curriculum because they have a whole resource book that's broken out so that it's not overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like you have to read all this stuff to figure out how to do the curriculum.
Nice.
And it is that it'll tell you what kind of like historical fiction that goes along with what you're reading about.
Oh, that's great.
So like historical fiction that you can read along with that to kind of help it make sense.
Oh, okay.
It's like watching Hamilton and learning, you know, but don't watch that with your kids. But it's similar to that. And then they also have narration questions that you can ask based on ages.
Cool.
And then they also have activities.
So we just have the books. Here's a good tip is when the libraries open back up, they have the CDs at the library, so go grab it and see if it's something your kids like, if that's something that they'll be interested in, you know?
Another place to check is the homeschool store. It's up off of Mills.
Yes, yeah, it's a great one. It's a little bit far up there.
But it's a good field trip to take. Right now, during COVID, I think they're encouraging you not to bring kiddos as much as possible, but I've seen kids there. They usually have a whole play area that's open, but right now it's not. But the great thing about the homeschool store is they have a whole used section. So I go look at all their new curriculum to kind of get an idea, and then I go over, and the ladies there are super helpful, or I'll go with you, or what have you. You go over there, and you can usually find a lot of the curriculum used. So if you're just thinking about curriculum and you just want to see it because there's not a homeschool conference to be able to see it at, you can go to the homeschool store, and they have tables that you can just put everything out on and just look at all of the options. That's what I did with Glaucy when we were kind of looking at different options for her boys. And then
it's good to have somebody like Julie along because when I first started homeschooling, I think that's the most stressful thing for a lot of homeschoolers is the curriculum. Yes. Like what's going to work for me. So talk to a mom that you really like what they're doing, you know, and say, hey, what works for you? Why does it work for you? And then go from there. We started with My Father's World, and then we transitioned to Classical Conversations, and we liked both curriculums for different reasons. And so see what works for you, and ask a mom who you respect and see what they say, and then ask Julie to go to the homeschool store with you.
I'll definitely do it. I've done a lot of research on it.
Yeah, guide you through the process so that you're not just like
because there's a lot of options out there for every subject, and it's different types of learning, whether it's Charlotte Mason or classical or whatever. There's just a lot of options out there. Jessica asked where the store is located. I will post a link to it after we're done with this.
On the event page?
Yeah, on the event page so that you guys can get to it. The homeschool store has been doing helpful Facebook Live events. That one I think is the one down south, but yeah, that one's it's called like HEP or something like that. That's one down south which I really enjoy too. So if you live more south, I'll try to post both of those. One's a little bit more north, kind of like 1960 area, and then the other one's south, and I can't remember because it's been a long time.
I've never been there.
But they have been doing really good videos.
But part of the reason for this whole virtual event is so that we can help each other out.
Yes.
So we wanna help out, and we know that you guys can help each other out. So we'll keep doing this and keep thinking and
So on that, the next few topics that we were considering. Tell me what you guys want, and if it's something that I don't mention, let me know, because we definitely want to do whatever is relevant to what you guys are needing. So one of the ones that I thought about was understanding learning styles and teaching styles and how to make that work for your family. The other one is household systems, working as a team, less nagging. So setting up systems, it kind of goes along with the schedule, but like how do you balance it all? Whether it's, chores and managing the house so that it's not like I did school all day and now my house is a wreck and now I'm going to spend the rest of the day cleaning, like I'm never going to have any downtime. So including the whole family, even little ones. I mean, my 3-year-olds help unload the dishwasher. We have a lot of plastic, not glass, because it just all broke. And then my 3-year-olds even help with the dishes, with doing the dishes, and they really enjoy it. There's a lot of things that you can do that way. So understanding learning styles, teaching styles, household systems, or curriculum talk, kind of what we were just doing now. I mean, there is a lot out there that we can talk about, the different styles, what works for your personality.
And there's so many good ones, and it is just like you pick and choose, because there's not just one, you know, and there's different learning styles.
I mean, I started out with like Sunlight curriculum, which is an all-inclusive, you just buy this and it has all of the stuff you need. And then as I've gotten more confident and learned things, I mean, we're more eclectic, so we pull from, it's not like just
and it's like, are your kids more worksheet oriented, or would they appreciate some
manipulatives and all that kind of stuff,
and some singing and dancing thrown in there, you know, and like,
and would you appreciate that?
You know, our kids like they're really little performers, and so our CC curriculum does presentations and they love it. And it's so hard for some kids. I feel sad for them, but my kids love it.
They're performers.
Yeah,
they're
performers.
They're in
we're like
a family of performers.
Yeah, we're like, stop performing for just a minute.
Melody says she would love to hear tips on foreign language instruction, so we can definitely talk about that. I know you guys do Latin in CC. Do you guys do any other languages?
No, I mean, we've started some Spanish, but it's not like we would just do it outside of CC.
Right, and we've tried a couple different things for Spanish, so I can definitely talk on that. And then we're doing something new this year for Spanish, and we're stepping into Latin for the first time.
And then there's also those, they have Spanish classes, right, for
prep classes. Yeah, prep class, which is a campus that you go to. It's usually located at a church. Teachers teach it. Your kid goes to the class. You drop them off. So Audrey did a Spanish class there 2 years ago, and it was quite awesome. And it's really, I mean, it's one of the more affordable options out there.
For sure.
We also did an online one time, but we can go into that into more detail later. There's a lot of really good options, and I would love to hear if anybody else is doing things. We can even, whatever topic we end up choosing, y'all end up choosing, we can make sure that if we don't have what we feel is enough knowledge, we will bring somebody else in that has even more knowledge than us on that topic. So whatever you guys are wanting, let's see, I'm just, another topic to discuss, teaching stuff that's not your favorite subject, but not letting your preferences color their perception of it. And
so I have a cheat that it might make some people frustrated with me, but so my husband he's a math major, so I don't teach math. So even when he works, I'm like, he works it out to where, so we do Matthew C, so everything is like presented in a video, and then he kind of goes over it with them a little bit, then they do their schoolwork, and then he checks it and records it, and then at the end of the year he takes some ice cream, and so I really never teach math.
What I'm realizing from all of these questions is our next topic is probably going to have to do with curriculum, because that seems to be kind of the general questions, and I love. I will geek out talking about curriculum and the different options and how to handle a situation like that, because I am not a science person. I'm not a math person. I mean, I can handle, all the grade school math and stuff like that, but it's not my love, and I don't want it to hamper. But Audrey adores math and science, and I don't, and I'm the one that taught her, but Jose also enjoys that, and we did some outside classes and some other things, so we can definitely
And also, wouldn't you agree that the things that you hated in high school, you actually start to love as a homeschool mom?
Yes, because they start to make sense now.
Yeah, because you're actually like, oh, I didn't know I liked science. I hated science in school.
Same here.
And I hated all the things that had to do with history and all of that, like all of my history teachers were coaches, and they all hated history too, and so I hated history.
Which goes along to Melody's point, like you don't want them to
love it. So anywho, but now I love it. And that's the thing with curriculum, like what you're saying, it does speak to curriculum, because when you like the curriculum, it presents it in a way that you like, and then it's not so on you. I mean, that's the thing about homeschooling is it's not all on you. You've got to figure out a way to have a good curriculum, to have some good supporters where you feel like I can do this, right?
There's a really good book that I read called The Brave Learner by Julie Bogart. Well, I say I read it. I listened to it on Audible because that's how I get things done. And she really encourages moms that don't feel qualified or whatever, feel the pressure of it. She has really good encouragement, which we can talk about more.
Yeah. There's another good book that I would encourage y'all to read too. It's called Teaching from Rest.
Yes, that's a really good one. And if you're an introvert, The Introverted Mom. I think it's The Introverted Mom or The Introverted Homeschool Mom. I think it's The Introverted Mom. Man, that really ministered to my soul. I know I'm super chatty, but
she's actually an introvert.
But I am an introvert.
She just turned it on for y'all.
Yes, because I love you guys. Okay, yes, there are so many curriculums. Your son's behind on reading. Audrey was behind on reading too, and I know that your son has sensory, whatever, the SPD. I'm going to mess it up.
Processing disorder.
There you go.
Sensory processing disorder, yes.
I know he has that, but Audrey, our hearts were crushed for the longest time because we thought she just wasn't going to love reading, and now she will devour,
Yeah.
because your kids are the same. She will devour a big book in a day, and I'm like, how did you do anything today?
I think the biggest thing about any of it, like reading and all of that, is just keeping them doing it.
Yeah.
I think that's
but at a pace that works.
I have a third grader right now. She's really math minded, and she is not a great reader. So she is probably considered behind if she was in regular public school. However, I know she's going to get there because her sisters did. You know what I mean? I know she's going to be fine. It's just keeping her doing it.
That's a really good question, Jessica. This will be the last one that we'll do for now, question-wise. And if you have any more questions, put them in the comments because we can definitely address them after we get off of here and stuff like that. But when is the right age for them to read? There are a lot of views on this, a lot of opinions on this, okay? It is okay if your kid reads later. They will pick it up. It's just like potty training. They will pick it up. There are a bunch of people back from the olden days, and I'm saying like the 60s and 70s. There's a book, Better Late Than Never is what it's called, and it was one of the starting homeschool parent books talking about that you shouldn't start teaching kids to read until they're 8.
Yeah.
Like that was a belief, and it's solid. Like I've read the book. It makes sense.
The reasons behind it.
Yeah, because it's all about play and letting them explore. Yeah. And once they start to learn to read at 8, they're so much more susceptible to understand it that they pick it up so much faster.
Yeah.
So you don't have to fret about the ages.
That was what I was thinking. What you're saying, like it's basically a stress-free zone. Like
it doesn't feel that way though.
No, it doesn't. But you keep at it, and you just keep working with them, and if you're stressed, they're stressed.
Amen.
If you're not stressed, then they're just going to keep plugging along, and I have to be careful not to, like I said, like my third grader, like she can read, but she's getting better at it all the time, but she's ahead in math, and so some of it is just that's the best thing about homeschooling is that they, like what you were saying about Audrey, is that she just is she goes with her interests and she's learning via her interests, and that's the blessing of homeschooling is they're not pigeonholed.
That's how we learn as adults too, right?
Exactly.
I mean, I have learned so much more in my adult life just because I was interested in something, and so I dove into it.
Right. Well, and I've known kids who they've come out of homeschooling back when homeschooling was really weird and unheard of still. But they came out like full-fledged videographers in a day and age when videography was like really complicated and a new thing. Yeah. And they're like ready to start, doing videography for people when we're just like, I don't know how to take a college class, it's just and so they were a step ahead because they had been able to look into their own interests.
That's a really good question about getting time for yourself. We will definitely, because that was probably one of when I thought about homeschooling, originally, I had to mourn, I literally had to mourn the time that I knew I was going to have if I sent my kids to school. And I always say that the Lord tricked me into homeschooling because I only had one kid when I chose to homeschool, and now we have 5. So he's hilarious. But I'll answer that in the comments because It's so good to minister to yourself and to allow yourself
right
time and to make
because
that a priority.
You need rest.
Yeah, or else you're not going to be able to. Now, Melody, I can already see your face. I know that there's times when you have little ones and making rest happen just it doesn't happen. But when we can, and when we can find help in a community, whether it's our husband or anybody else,
right?
We have to.
Well, and when you take it to the Lord too, like, Lord, I need rest, and then when you just take things to the Lord like that, I mean, He will work them out from time to time in a way that you couldn't see in yourself, like in unimaginable ways. And so sometimes that's what it takes.
But we'll answer that question more because that's a really good question, and I know that's something on everybody's heart when they're doing this kind of stuff.
And it's so needed.
Yes. Okay. So action points right now is I have a private Facebook group. So it's, you have to be approved to enter it, just because I don't want it to be filled with a bunch of people that are trying to solicit things or anything like that. I'm going to put the link to that in the comments, and you guys can join the Facebook group. I'll approve you. And then that is where I'm going to be posting the schedule rhythm printables. Those will be downloadable by the end of the week. That's also where I want to start creating this community. Amber and I will be there. Other homeschool mamas will be there that can answer questions, that you can ask questions. You're saying, man, I made this schedule and it's not working and I don't know why. And so you can post that and we can answer. It's going to be a very uplifting, encouraging space. That we can hey, I need somebody to print these schedules for me and I live in this area of Houston. We want this community where we can just really uplift and not feel alone.
And bless one another.
So it's called it's Never Alone group, right? I have Never Alone Consulting, my business page, but this will be the Never Alone group. So I'll put that up there and then you guys can join, and then that will be a really good way to know when more events are happening. I'll even do videos specifically just for that group to show how I do my schedules, like you can actually see me doing it. And stuff like that. So I'll post that in a little bit. The other way that you can get help from me is I will do personal 1 hour personal 1 hour consult. It's $30 just for the 1 hour, and that is where you can kind of brain dump onto me your concerns, your questions. Sometimes it's just good to kind of get all of that out, and I can help you sort out what you need to concern yourself with now, and I can send you into all of the resources, or I can say, here's what we need to do next, and we can step into that. So
it's more personal.
It is more personal, so we can do it face-to-face at a coffee shop or something like that. We can do it via Facebook video, whatever works for your schedule.
And remember what Julie said, she's an Enneagram 5. So it's like, if you get with her and you say, like the Enneagram the videos that I watch, it's like you poke an Enneagram 5 and like all of this information comes out. That's basically, she'll help you out.
Jessica Blake will tell you, like I send a lot of information, but I intentionally don't send an overabundance. Like I don't send all of the information that's in my head because I don't want to overwhelm people. So I will help you with whatever kind of questions and just make it a calmer, less daunting experience. So if you're interested in that, you can message me via my personal page or via the Never Alone Consulting page.
And I'm sorry, I think it's Ty, Thy. We love you and we're sorry we don't know how to say your name. But you asked if you're going to be able to watch this video later. If Julie will add you to the page, and then you can watch again.
Yes, the live video on the event you'll be able to watch. We're also going to post it up on YouTube. It's going to take me. I'll probably do that tomorrow.
It'll take a minute to download.
Yeah, I got to download it and then upload it onto YouTube so that for people that don't have Facebook, if you want to share it to them, they would be able to get to it there. So I'll also post that link on the event page and probably in a way that you can share as well.
Right.
And so if there is anybody that you think, man, they could use this information, feel free to share this video.
She said
T.
T.
Okay, T.
Okay, sorry,
Thank
T.
you. Thank you. I'm sure you get that all the time and you just roll your eyes at us, but that's totally fine. So share the video to whoever you think needs it. I think you should be able to share it even if they're not in the event, and if there's an issue, just let me know and I'll make sure that it's, I also plan on making a little quick printable that just has a kind of an overview of the pointers that we talked about.
Nice.
So that for the people that don't want to sit and watch an hour and a half video or don't have the time for that because they have a million children or little ones or whatever. I know, like we're cute, so you want to talk to us. I'll have that printed out so you can share it or just have it in front of you to remember these things. And then let's see. Oh, Amber. So first of all, I'm super thankful for a friend that would like come alongside me and support me. I'm getting teary-eyed. In this and push me to do something like the online event, and I just really want to praise her for that. And I just want you guys to know, like, her heart as a realtor and a mom and a homeschool mom is really to like make the best experience possible for her clients. I mean, I know her heart because I hear her talk about how much she cares. Like, I've seen you like jump up and down getting excited because somebody's deal went through. I don't know the words properly, but like things happened
they got the house
well for the client, and she's like jumping up and down. So I know she's really trying to be intentional about who you work with. You really want to bless mamas and new families, and you want to bless homeschool families. And so I just want to give her an opportunity to talk about what she does in her heart and how you can support her in that.
Thank you, Julie. Yeah. It's so sweet. So I totally agree. That is the people, the target audience for me is people like Dave and I, people who are young families, even maybe somebody who hasn't purchased a house before. Dave and I have purchased a lot of houses, and so we kind of know the roll call. But we do every year after year. So we reevaluate whether we homeschool every year. We also reevaluate real estate every year because it's a big part of my life, and if I did away with it, there would be a lot of time for other things. But the Lord continues to say no, stay in real estate, and even my husband Dave now has his real estate license too because we're continuing to stay in real estate, and I love it. And I feel like it's a ministry, and the Lord continues to bless our family through it, and I have hopefully blessed my clients through it. And so that is my goal, is to come from contribution, to bless other people, to really network and to get to know people. Dave and I have moved so many times that we, unless we really put ourselves out there, we just don't get to know people as much as we would like to. So real estate helps us with that. Things like this help us with that. Homeschool groups and things like that. But it's just like other things where we have to be super intentional and work on it with our, with every waking ounce of us. But I thank you for that, and I do love my clients, and I do jump up and down when they get houses, and I do freak out when I feel like something might not be going their way. So that has to do with me putting my trust in the Lord too, and that's why we have a Sabbath too. But we would, my husband, like I said, he's a math major, he's a numbers guy, so they're a really good team. So he's joined us, and I love it because I'm like, hey, let's look at comps together, and then I kind of like go do other things, and he's still looking at the numbers, and he gives me like the end story, and then I just take that with me, because I don't want to do all the research of the numbers, but I like the other fun stuff, like the staging and the marketing and all of that. So it's been a huge blessing to our family, and we would love we would love to eventually work with a lot of homeschool people. We would love that to be, because that's who we are. So
so now it's giveaway time, and I can't get to we're gonna do a little prize picker thing, but you gotta unlock your phone. I can't.
Oh, okay, sure.
And so we gotta put everybody's name in, and then we'll see who.
What do you need me to do? Get on the.
Yeah, I'll do. Oh, okay. Sorry.
You're fine.
Just get on Safari.
Oh, get on Safari?
Yeah. No.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, I'm gonna tell y'all what it is one more time in case you weren't here at the beginning. So, thank you, honey. My husband says I look great. Oh, that I rock. Oh, thank you for that. Okay, so this is the planner that we've got, and it's got class records, communication log, and notes. It's got a place for birthdays in there,
Mm.
and some little spots for storing papers, extra papers, all that good stuff. Extra little notepad, markers.
Because you always need those.
Yes, some amazing smelling coffee. I'm kind of like needing some coffee right now. Oh, I didn't even show this. This is adorable. This is just a little thing. You can put it up in your homeschool room if you want. It says, do not let your heart be troubled, John 14:1.
Yes.
So it's
Isn't that kind of what we talked about?
Yeah,
Time, right?
yeah. So I love that. I think that's part of our homeschool journey. Some sugar to go with your day.
Yes.
You can either sneak it or use it for like math learning time.
Right.
Sometimes we put
Incentives.
Yeah, sometimes we put it on the spot that we're talking about, and then we eat it. The kids eat it. And some amazing smelling coffee. So that's our basket. Oh, and the magnetic bookmarks, which are wonderful.
They're amazing, and my kids always steal them.
Yes, I know. That's why I have to keep buying more too.
I'm trying to put everybody. I think I almost have everybody.
Okay.
Of course, I'm not putting my mother or our husbands on here because.
But it's nice of you to come on.
Yes, we appreciate the support, but you cannot win because you're related to us.
Yes.
And that makes no sense.
So if you hopped on, whether you asked a question or not, you're going to be in the drawing.
Yes.
And then tell your friends, subscribe to all the things, and then you could be in the drawing next time too. We'll have more fun stuff.
Okay, so here's the wheel with everybody's name. It might be backwards, so I'm going to tap the little thing, and we're going to see who wins. Okay? Let's see. Oh!
Was it T?
Yeah, it's T.
Yay, T!
Yay, you won. Okay, so I will, or one of us will message you, whoever can, actually message you depending on friends and, friending and stuff like that. And we'll get your address and find out where you are, and we'll get you your basket. So thank you guys so much for coming. We really hope that this blessed you guys and that it helped calm some nerves.
And it blessed me.
Yeah, it's always so much fun to see, wait, we actually do know some things and we're not.
We feel like we're winging it.
Yeah, most of the time we really do. So I will be posting all the things up there. Feel free to ask us questions, and we love you guys. We thank you so much for being here. Okay?
Have
See
a
y'all
blessed
later.
week. Bye-bye.